birthday party turns into chaos when my stepsister's secret gets exposed in front of the whole family. So buckle up, because this is one of those you can't make this up kind of family disasters. My stepsister Sophia, 33, had her birthday last weekend, and our whole blended family gathered at my dad's house to celebrate. For context, I'm 28, and Sophia and I have had a rocky relationship since our parents married 10 years ago. She's always been the perfect daughter in everyone's eyes, smart, career-driven, well-dressed with the whole Pinterest board life. But if you know her personally, you know she's also secretive as hell. Anyway, the setup: my dad and stepmom went all out decorating the living room with balloons, a giant Happy Birthday Sophia banner, and even catered food from this Italian place she loves. My grandma came, my uncle Jim, who always has something to say, and my cousin Lily, 22, loud and nosy but hilarious. Sophia showed up looking stunning in this emerald green dress, soaking up the compliment. Everything started normal. Drinks were flowing, people were laughing, my dad gave a cheesy toast about how Sophia is the heart of this family eye roll, and then we cut the cake. But things started getting weird. Sophia was constantly sneaking glances at her phone, stepping out into the hallway to take a call, and whispering with this guy none of us really knew. He showed up about an hour in, introduced himself as Mark, just a friend, and carried a gift bag. Nobody thought much of it at first. Sophia has tons of friends. But the way she lit up when he walked in, that wasn't just a friend energy. Here's where it got messy. My cousin Lily, who was basically a human lie detector, leaned over to me and whispered, "They're totally together, watch her face when he talks." And sure enough, Sophia was giggling, touching his arm, and at one point I swear she whispered something into his ear. The tension ramped up when Sophia's actual boyfriend, yes, boyfriend Alex, arrived. He came late because of work, brought flowers, and was totally oblivious. The second he walked in, you could feel the air get heavy. Mark suddenly got really quiet and awkward, and Sophia looked like she'd seen a ghost. My uncle Jim, who has zero filter, loudly said, "Wait, who's this guy then?" pointing straight at Mark. Everyone turned their heads. My dad raised his eyebrows, Alex looked confused, and Sophia's face went beet red. She stammered, "Oh, just a coworker, he was in the area and stopped by." But Mark didn't play along. He gave her this look like, "Really? That's your story?" and muttered, "Coworker, huh? That's news to me." You could literally hear folks clinking against plates in the silence that followed. Alex's smile dropped instantly. "Sophia, what's going on?" he asked, voice tight. And that's when everything started spiraling out of control. I swear, I've never seen a room full of people shift from cheerful party mode to dead silent that fast. You could practically feel everyone holding their breath, waiting for Sophia to explain. Sophia tried to laugh it off, waving her hand like it was nothing. "Oh my god, you guys are reading too much into it. Mark and I worked together on a project last year. He's just being dramatic." "What, Mark?" He didn't back down. He crossed his arms, leaned against the counter, and said in this calm but short tone, "Dramatic. You've been texting me non-stop for weeks. You told me to come tonight because you wanted me here, but now I'm just some coworker." The audible gasp that came from my grandma could have been in a soap opera. Alex's face went pale, then bright red. He set the flowers down on the table a little too hard and said, "Sophia, what the hell is he talking about?" Sophia's eyes darted around the room like she was looking for an escape hatch. "Alex, please, not here. Can we talk about this later?" But Alex wasn't having it. "Later? You invited some random guy who's clearly not random, and you want me to wait until after your birthday party to find out what's going on?" His voice cracked on that last part, and it was the most painful thing I've ever heard. Meanwhile, my Uncle Jim decided to stir the pot. "If you ask me, looks like she's been playing both sides," he said, shaking his head. "Some birthday surprise, huh?" Jim, not helping. "My dad snapped, but the damage was done." My cousin Lily muttered under her breath, "Not quietly enough," called it. Sophia snapped then. She slammed her glass down and hissed, "You all need to mind your own business. This is between me and Alex." But Mark laughed, not a funny laugh, more like bitter. "Between you and Alex, that's rich. How about the part where you told me you were done with him, or that you wanted me to come tonight so you could finally tell your family the truth?" At this point, you could see Alex's heart breaking in real time. He whispered, "You said that?" Sophia froze, then covered her face with her hands. She didn't say yes, didn't say no, just stood there, trembling. And that silence was louder than anything. My stepmom tried to smooth things over, standing up and saying, Okay, let's all take a breath, this is not the time or the place." But it was too late. Alex had already grabbed his jacket and was heading for the door. Sophia chased after him, shouting, "Alex, wait, please, it's not what you think," but he didn't even turn around. The door slammed so hard, the balloons tied to the railing bounced. And then all eyes turned back to Mark, who just shrugged and muttered, "Guess the truth's out now." That's when my dad lost it. If part 2 was chaos, part 3 was straight up nuclear. The second Alex stormed out, my dad's face went from confused to furious. He stood up so fast his chair screeched across the floor. "Sophia, what the hell have you done?" His voice was low, but it had that dangerous edge that made everyone freeze. Sophia spun around, eyes already glassy with tears. "Dad, it's not that simple." But Mark, like he'd been waiting for this exact moment, jumped in again. "Actually, it's pretty simple. She's been stringing both of us along. She told me Alex was controlling and that she didn't even want to be with him anymore. I wouldn't have come here if I knew she was still playing house with him." The room collectively inhaled like one giant gasp. My grandma muttered, "Lord of mercy," while clutching her rosary. Yes, she brought one. Sophia snapped at Mark, "Why are you doing this? This wasn't supposed to happen like this." "Like this?" My dad's voice boomed now. "So you were planning to announce something tonight? At your birthday party? In front of the whole family?" Sophia wiped at her face, smearing her mascara. "I was going to tell Alex, but not like this, not with all of you here staring at me like I'm some kind of monster." Lily, who cannot physically keep her mouth shut, blurted out, "Well, you kinda are acting like one. You had a whole boyfriend and a side dude at your own birthday party." "Lily," my stepmom scolded, but honestly, she was just saying what everyone was thinking. Sophia turned on her heel and pointed at Mark. "You weren't supposed to say anything. You promised you'd let me handle it." Mark threw his hands up. "Yeah, well, being called your coworker wasn't exactly part of the deal." The tension was unbearable. Even the candles on the cake had burned out, and nobody dared to move them. Finally, my dad thundered, "This is embarrassing, for Alex, for this family, for me. How could you do this, Sophia?" Sophia's voice broke. "Because I'm miserable, okay. Alex is safe, stable. He makes everyone happy, but Mark makes me feel alive, and I didn't know how to choose without disappointing someone." The confession hit like a grenade. Vanmore shook her head. "You don't destroy good men just because you're bored, Sophia." Mark looked uncomfortable now, like he hadn't expected her to put it so bluntly. He rubbed the back of his neck and muttered, "I didn't come here to break up a family, I just wanted honesty." My dad pinched the bridge of his nose, muttering under his breath. Then, louder, "Party's over. Everyone, go home." No one argued. People started gathering coats and leftovers in awkward silence. Balloons set in the corner while the happy birthday banner suddenly looked like a cruel joke. Sophia just stood there, shaking, mascara streaked, while Mark covered near the door like he wanted to help but knew better. After everyone shuffled out, the house felt eerily quiet except for Sophia's muffled sobs echoing from the kitchen. Balloons still floated in the corner, the cake sat half-eaten, but the vibe was wrecked beyond repair. I lingered, mostly because I didn't trust Sophia not to implore if left alone. My dad was pacing the living room like he was about to wear a groove in the hardwood floor, muttering things like, "Unbelievable humility on her birthday, no less." Finally, he snapped, "Sophia, get in here." She stumbled out of the kitchen, clutching a tissue, eyes swollen. Mark was hovering near the door, like a kid waiting to be picked up after detention. Dad's face was stone. "I don't even recognize you right now. You humiliated Alex in front of all of us. You humiliated this family. And for what? Some fling?" Sophia's voice cracked. "It's not fling. I love Mark." Mark blinked like he hadn't expected her to say it that boldly. "But Dad?" He scoffed, almost laughing in disbelief. "Love? Don't insult me. Love doesn't look like this. Love doesn't blindside someone who's been loyal to you for years." Sophia threw her hands up. "You don't understand. Alex was safe, predictable. I thought that's what I was supposed to want, but every time I looked at him, I felt like I was slowly disappearing. Mark makes me feel alive again." "Alive again?" Dad barked. "You sound like a teenager sneaking out to see your boyfriend, not a grown woman turning 33. Sophia crumpled into a chair, sobbing harder. Mark finally spoke up. "Look, Mr. Reynolds, I didn't come here to cause drama. I just wanted Sophia to be honest with herself, with all of you." Dad turned on him like a stone. "And who the hell are you to lecture my family about honesty? You walked into this house knowing she had someone else, and you still played along." Mark opened his mouth, then shut it. He had no comeback. That's when my stepmom, who'd been unusually quiet, finally broke. She sat beside Sophia, rubbing her back, and said softly, "Sweetheart, you can't build happiness on lies. It'll collapse every time." Sophia whispered into her hands, I know I messed up, but I didn't know how else to end things with Alex without breaking his heart." "I couldn't help myself," I muttered from the corner, "so instead, you broke it in front of 20 people. Sophia shot me a glare, but she didn't deny it. The night ended with Dad ordering Mark out. "You've done enough damage, leave." Mark looked at Sophia, hesitated like he wanted to fight it, but in the end, he just nodded and left quietly. The slam of the door echoed. Sophia clutched against the table, whispering over and over, "I didn't want it to happen like this." And that's when I realised this wasn't just about a ruined birthday. This was about years of Sophie pretending to be someone she wasn't, finally catching up to her. The days after the birthday disaster were tense, to put it mildly. The house felt empty, but the tension lingered like a bad smell. Every text, every phone call, every glance felt like a trap waiting to explode. Alex didn't talk to Sophia for 3 days. Not a single text, not a call. He unfollowed her on social media, which, in the modern age, is basically the equivalent of banishment. I could see the heartbreak in his eyes when I ran into him at the grocery store. He didn't yell. He didn't curse. He just looked at me with this quiet devastation and said, "I can't believe she'd do that to me, in front of everyone." Meanwhile, the rest of the family started taking sides, some subtle, some not so subtle. My Uncle Jim called Sophia reckless during a family Zoom chat, and my grandma Trite said she was shameful. My dad didn't say much, just the occasional death glare when Sophia walked into the room. My stepmom tried to act neutral, but it was obvious she was disappointed. Lily, of course, had a field day texting me updates and gossiping about everyone's reactions. Sophia, meanwhile, withdrew. She spent most of her time holed up in her bedroom, scrolling her phone, crying intermittently and occasionally pacing. She refused to talk about Mark in front of anyone. "He's gone, just let it go," she said when I asked about him, her voice flat, but her hands shaking. Finally, after a particularly awkward dinner where no one spoke more than 3 sentences, she cornered me in the kitchen. "I don't know what to do," she admitted, voice cracking. "I can't fix Alex, I can't fix Dad, I can't fix this party or myself." I sat down beside her and tried to be honest. "Sophia, look, you can't undo what happened, you can't pretend it didn't happen, but you can start fixing things by being honest with everyone, including yourself. Mark's feelings, Alex's feelings, your family's feelings, you can't control them, but you can control your actions." She nodded, tears streaming. "I know, I just feel trapped, like everyone will hate me if I choose Mark, but if I stay with Alex, I'm lying to myself every day." It was a rough truth. She was literally living in a cage of her own making, trying to satisfy everyone else while hiding her own heart. Later that night, Sophia sent Mark a long text, the kind where every word trembles with honesty. "I messed up, I lied, I don't expect anything from you, but I can't keep pretending, I need to figure out what's right for me." I don't know what his response was yet, but the fact that she finally admitted it, even just in writing, was progress. For the first time since the party, I saw a tiny flicker of relief in her eyes. The weight wasn't gone, but it was shifting. And maybe, just maybe, she'd survive this family apocalypse with her heart mostly intact. A week later, Sophia finally got the courage to reach out to Alex. She invited him to a quiet cafe, one of those little hidden spots downtown where you can talk without anyone overhearing. I insisted on driving her there because, well, she still looked like she might faint just thinking about it. As soon as they sat down, the tension was palpable. Alex stared at her across the table, eyes hurt but composed. His hands were wrapped tightly around his coffee mug, like it was the only thing keeping him grounded. "Sophia," he said quietly, not even bothering with small talk. Why would you do that to me, to us?" Sophia took a shaky breath. Alex, I never meant for it to get out like that. I messed up. I hid things because I was scared. Scared of disappointing everyone. Scared of losing Mark. Scared of hurting you. And somehow, I hurt everyone anyway. Alex shook his head, staring at the floor. Do you even know how humiliating that was? In front of everyone, my friends, your family, I felt like a fool. I know, she whispered, tears brimming. I was a fool too. I wasn't honest with myself or with you, and I can't go back and fix it. I want to be honest now. He finally looked up, voice soft but broken. So, what does that mean? Are you with him, or are you with me? Sophia's eyes welled up, and she looked down at her hands. I don't know. I care about you, Alex. I love you in my own way, but I also care about Mark. I can't keep pretending anymore. I can't live like that. I need to figure out what's real. Alex's jaw tightened, and for a moment, he just stared at her. Then, quietly, he said, I guess I can't force you to choose, but I also can't be part of a love triangle, not with someone I trust, not with someone I love. He got up, dropped some cash on the table, and left. Sophia didn't move. I could see the heartbreak etched into her face. Guilt, relief, fear, and desire all tangled together. That night she called Mark. The conversation was long, messy, emotional, and for the first time, completely honest. She admitted everything at the party. Alex, the lies, the confusion, and her feelings. I wasn't in the room, but I could hear her sobs as she spoke. Mark's voice was calm but firm. He wanted clarity, commitment, or nothing. By the end of the call, Sophia had made her choice. She didn't have all the answers, she didn't have all the closure, but she finally acknowledged the truth of both to herself and the people involved. And for the first time in years, she didn't feel like she was suffocating under the weight of secrets. I stayed in her room after the calls ended. We didn't talk much. She just leaned back against the wall, exhausted, tears still running, and whispered, It's over. The lies, the hiding, it's finally over. And somehow, I knew this birthday disaster, this monumental chaos, had forced her to face the one thing she couldn't run from anymore, herself. The week after Sophie's conversations with Alex and Mark, the house slowly returned to a semblance of normalcy, though normal now felt different, quieter, and more tentative. Sophia started being more present, more open. She didn't hide her phone, didn't step out to take secret calls, and most importantly, she stopped pretending everything was fine. The first real breakthrough happened during a Sunday family brunch at my dad's. Grandma, my Uncle Jim, Lily, and even my stepmom were there. The air was still thick with tension, but Sophia had rehearsed what she needed to say. She cleared her throat and said, I know the birthday party got out of control, and I owe all of you an apology. I lied, I hid things, and I hurt people I care about. That includes Alex, Mark, and all of you. Uncle Jim raised an eyebrow, but surprisingly, no snark this time. Grandma sniffled and muttered, finally, some honesty. My dad, who had looked ready to lecture her into oblivion, finally softened. Sophia, honesty is the first step, but it doesn't erase the hurt. She nodded, tears in her eyes. I know, and I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make better choices. I just needed to admit the truth. There was a pause, and then Lily, the ultimate gossip, smirked. Well, at least now the drama's over mostly. Everyone chuckled lightly, breaking some of the tension for the first time in days. Later, Sophia met with Mark in person. They didn't hold hands or declare a fairy tale romance. But for the first time, they had a real conversation about boundaries, honesty, and the future. They agreed to start fresh, no lies, no games, just two adults trying to figure things out. Alex, meanwhile, slowly started forgiving her. Not fully, and not immediately, but their interactions became less cold. A few texts here and there, a brief coffee meeting, enough to show that while the relationship might not continue romantically, closure was possible. Sophia confided to me later that evening, I feel like I finally exhaled, like the weight I've been carrying is lighter, even if nothing's perfect. I hugged her. You survived a turtle holiday disaster and came out the other side, that's something. She laughed through tears. Yeah, who knew a birthday party could feel like a natural disaster? By the end of the month, life had settled into a cautious rhythm. Family dinners weren't quite as tense, conversations were slightly easier, and Sophia even started planning another birthday party this time, a small, honest one, where everyone knew the truth and no secrets could explode. The party disaster hadn't destroyed her relationships completely. It had broken some, strained others, but it also forced Sophia to confront the truth she'd been running from for years. And as much as she hated it at the time, she admitted later it was the only way she could finally start living authentically. Sometimes, family chaos teaches the hardest lessons are the ones that stick with you forever. And for Sophia, surviving her birthday blow-up was the first step toward a life with fewer lies and more honesty.